back to the Berg Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. With me today is Ford.
Hey, how's it going?
And Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And today we've got a topic that we haven't touched in the entirety of our podcast here. We're talking specifically about equipment and more specifically favorite pieces of equipment, right? So I guess, and we should start by saying like each of us has a pretty varying degree of experience when it comes to our interactions with equipment, right? Me, almost none. Let's be totally transparent here. Dan, a modicum of experience.
I have some and more on different things.
Yeah, but for quite a bit. I mean, you've been in and out of the seat for the last 35 years.
I was like, what day do you want to start?
I was like doing the math in my head as I said it. I was like, wait a second. It's been like, I was going to say 20. No, that's not right.
Are we talking log
30,
skidders and, wood processors and sawmills, or are we talking earth moving equipment? We can go either way.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think we can there's almost different within the same thing, right? I mean, because like we can even put parameters on it because it might change versus that too, because
sure.
What is your favorite piece to run? What is your favorite piece to see just what equipment does? Or what is your favorite piece that you
wish you could run?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Right. I mean,
that's even going to happen with Ford because there is stuff you haven't run just because we don't have it. You haven't run into it. Then I'm sure you'd be interested in running.
Yeah, I know there's a guy on the social media that he loves the Snowcats, right? I mean, he's a dirt guy, but he just loves the Snowcats for some reason. And I don't know, each their own. But I mean, I think it's we'll stick to.
All right, so wait, what's a Snowcat?
They're the ones that groom the snow
grooming,
right?
Yep.
They're actually really interesting to me. Actually,
like the ski slopes and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So Aaron and I just had a discussion because we're not going to go this year, but next year we'll go out west. And the place we were looking at, you could take the Snowcat as part of the package, and they would take you all the way to the top, which is much better than hiking, which I've done. That's hiking. That's you're really earning your turns to do that. But and I was like,
you get 3 runs a day in then?
That how steep you can go up.
Yeah.
So that Snowcat is an interesting one.
Yeah, and I think that the other part is that then the other part is what is your Swiss Army knife? Which machine would you want if you only had one that you could take? Which one would you want? Because that changes the dynamics completely.
So where are we going to start? Which one do you want to cover first?
Let's start with your favorite to operate. I think that's maybe
favorite to operate.
Is that the easiest place to start? I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's how do you want it set up too? Because then there's attachments and there's
you got to make a choice here. Go ahead, pick your attachment, pick your machine.
No, I mean, my favorite machine to run if I'm just having fun would be a dozer.
Okay.
Just grading, there's nothing better than just cutting stuff and pushing. Actually, there's a particular our balk machine, it's an old school machine, but it's just you feel the power underneath of you. You see stuff actually getting done in front of you, and that's probably not the most amount of time I have in a seat, but something about that doing that is a fun time.
Yeah, I would love to say it's a dozer, but it's the excavator because that's the one I can be confident in running. I'm okay in an excavator. I can run it. I can load. I can dig. I can move myself around. I know what I'm doing. It's what I would have the most experience in. The dozer, in the times I've been in it, which isn't many, but it's always with a lot of people around and with them, with some expectation that I have Ford's level of experience in these machines, and I just don't, especially a dozer, and so I know it's trouble. I know that I can push off, I can manage a pile, but I always find myself ending up that somebody wants me to even rough grade, which is tricky to grade. The GPSs do make it much easier, but I've only run them a little bit. I think one of the funniest times is when we were down in Atlanta on testing equipment, and some of the guys were with us, and Aaron was with me. And they had Aaron run a fully automated GPS machine and me run a standard machine to see who could grade faster. And in the end, she got me with the GPS machine. I was close to staying with her with the GPS, without GPS, which I thought was an accomplishment in my own right because I know how much I struggle on those dozers. But Aaron also said that was not fully automated. She thought that meant you got in and got yourself a cup of coffee and a breakfast sandwich, and you just sat there, and then 8 hours later you'd get out. She was like, I had to make it move. I was like, well, yeah, but you didn't have to control the blade or the pieces of it that are automated. So, but for me, it's excavator.
Yeah. Cool. My extremely limited experience. I really I gotta say, so most of my equipment experience comes from snow related activities, right? Because
So you use
usually-
the load all the one time to plow the parking lot?
yeah, I've used the
The boom lift thingy?
the telehandler. Yeah, I've used the telehandler. I've used the little tractors. But my favorite, and I don't even know if we have it anymore. We probably do. But Tom had this wheel loader that used to sit
The old
here.
Fiat.
Yeah, the Fiat wheel loader. I don't think the brakes worked, so I mostly had to use the bucket to control my slowing speed. But that was fun for me because there was like so little expectation, and two, so little liability, right? Because the parking lot's empty. You guys are all out actually doing something productive and earning money. And because I don't do that stuff, I was here trying to make sure the lot was at least passable. Well, you know, when you guys finally, after hours and hours and maybe days of being out, could get to get.
We always
back
forget
in.
about our parking lot. Like it's the last thing. By the time we do it,
Yeah.
usually somebody's gotten it done. Yeah.
Yeah,
Was that the
Fiat
one that
was-
where like the cab was on the front or the back? Do you remember that?
It's on the front. Yeah. So,
Okay, because
yeah.
like so there was one machine we had here. I don't know if was it that unit, but it was the older days. So the cab was on the front of the pintle or the center pivot.
Oh.
And so now most of the wheel loaders, you're on the back of the center pivot, so your front wheels turn.
Okay.
But when the one we had,
I think the Fiat Alice was the
Was
one
it the
that you
Fiat-
sat in
yeah.
the front. I
and
think.
it's just so weird because you're turning with like it was so odd. Like, it was
almost like a
similar,
rear
but
turn
not the
machine.
same.
Almost
Yeah.
like a car that
Yeah.
could turn with the rear wheels.
Yeah.
It was all new to me, anyways.
It didn't matter.
That was fun. I enjoyed it because and the wheel loader, like for me at least, is like big enough to feel like you're actually in a piece of equipment.
You gotta go up a couple steps
Yeah.
to get into it.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, opposed to like the skid loaders and the tractors and the
Yeah,
other
the
stuff.
funniest thing with the Fiat, do you remember Ford, is
Mhm.
this, you're going back years now, but I mean, this had to be 10 years ago. And we were running the machine and we couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And I don't even know that it was one of the mechanics. It could have been one of the Stoffers. I don't know who realized that it had a short and that was the actual problem. Do you remember this?
Soda can?
They crushed a soda can and they put it in between the seat and they realized that something had happened. We didn't know what it was, but it was actually the safety on the seat,
sensor.
thinking
Mhm.
that you weren't sitting in the seat. So we put a soda can in it. So that was well before the safety department was in place or any regulations. But, you know, I bring it up because it shows how far we've come. You know, that
Sure.
Fiat was a very old machine, real strong, and it was good, but had a lot of issues. Even then we were careful with who ran it. But that was fun. I don't know if you remember that Ford with the soda
I do
can.
remember the soda can.
Yeah.
That was duct tape and chewing gum level.
Duct tape and chewing gum. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got dozer,
Yeah.
wheel loader, excavator.
Yeah.
Let's go Swiss Army knife. If there's one machine you're going to get, what is it?
So that's interesting. I was actually thinking about it, and my first machine was a backhoe, so you think backhoe. But when we started the company, we had a mini, and like a small excavator, and so that was the Swiss Army knife.
Mm.
And so I think like a mid-side excavator, because there's not much you can grade with it. It's not optimum. You can dig with it, optimum, but there's a lot of stuff it's not the best. But when that's the only machine you have, you're lifting things, you're setting things, you're flipping buckets, you have a thumb on it, So as much as I would say some other machines, I'd probably go Traco for Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I was, because of ability, I was thinking that I would go like an 80 size machine, like a 138, but even an 80 even more so, because I could do anything I could get anywhere. But really, I think now it has to be the skid loader. Between the time that I've run them and the amount of time that I've spent in them because of snow, with whether it be wheel loaders or skid loaders or track loaders, any of those variations. And for the same reason, I could put forks on it. I can have a bucket on it. I can put a grapple on it. I could do a lot of different things with it. The only thing I can't do is take forks off of it with the door open. That's a bad idea. Shouldn't do that. But no, I think that's one. Though, if you're talking, before Brian goes, if you're talking that you get to pick who you want to put in the skid loader, like if we're going truly like Swiss Army knife, I get to pick the machine and the person. In the skid loader, it's Luke. I mean, Luke was something to see. He looked like the Tasmanian devil. It wasn't that bad that it was fast, but it was sort of like Greg on a dozer. Like Luke, he could do any piece of anything. I think he could have dug a trench with that thing. It was crazy.
Are you just working that hard not to say JD's name today? Because I mean,
No.
JD in a skid loader, he spent years in one before he came to us.
That is true, but JD, that is true. That's a good point. That would be quite a competition to see the two of them, because they are very similar, actually, even in the way they use those machines.
We could talk about age of machines and stuff like that, because the ones we started with versus the ones we have now are a light years apart.
You know what ones we don't have it anymore, and I wasn't here when you had one, but I ran one before I was here, was those original Takahachis.
Yeah.
Those Takahachis were, it was just a different level. We said we weren't going to talk about equipment names, and we'll stay away from the big ones, but with the little machines, the Takahachi.
They were one of the first track companies.
Yeah, it was a track, and it was so heavy and strong. It felt, I had never run a dozer at that point, and to me, that almost felt like what a dozer started to feel like.
Well, before we jump off, but yeah, before when we got the very big, one of the biggest skid loaders there for a while, they just kept getting bigger, like supersizing them. But the problem is they were using the same quick disconnect area. We had a big wheel one and a big track one for back when we were doing like logging and lane crane. We ripped buckets off there on the week because they'd built everything bigger except for the strength thing.
Actual mounts,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know how many times, like you'd see our buckets and there was just weld on weld on weld, like just keep trying to keep it together to get the job done. But sorry. So what is yours, Brian?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to go skid loader just based on my limited experience. I just feel like in the times that I've used the the skid loader, being able to, change apparatus so easily and like the multitude of things that I could do with it, and which isn't a lot, but everything from like, scooping and moving something, actually using the bucket to kind of get it into like a flat, nice looking shape. Forks to pick things up, the broom on the front I've used. So I was thinking that just based on what I know I can do with a machine, which is not much, and the amount of things that machine could do, I'm thinking that for me, it would be a skid loader.
The other thing with the skid loader too, is he said about the broom is we have the roller.
Yeah.
And we had the grinder. So in other words, it was that machine, you could just do almost anything.
Yeah.
But I felt the same way as you when I did my own patio out back the last time.
Yeah.
I didn't take a skid loader. I took an excavator. I took an 80.
Yeah.
And I was able to, use the 80, and it was crazy because it was too big for my backyard, but it was what I felt like.
Could do everything you needed to be done.
It could do everything I needed to be done. And I felt like I was the best in that.
Yeah. Interesting.
What about, and I sort of went there, if you're picking a guy in a machine, not the best, but the one you've watched that sort of you were taken back by, and you may take the guy, I would say, and that's fine. I got a few of them that I can think of, but watching somebody run something and really being like, wow, that's.
So I'm going to take pre-Burke Construction because like when I was a kid, of course, you're on job sites with my family and like you're watching people because it's fun to do. And there was two, I think it's also for me because this machine I can operate, but I'm not like great at, but like track loaders. That is a skill, right? I mean, there's certain machines that like you can learn, and there's certain machines that some people just have, and some people like can get by, but not. But Ron that used to work here, there was another guy named Shorty, and then there was another guy named Smoke. I don't know. I guess you all have to have nicknames for it. But these guys, like, they did everything. Again, they used that machine as their Swiss Army knife. That's all they had. I still remember there was one subdivision where we were clearing for, and another company was doing the excavation before we started, and he did everything on the entire job. Dug the basements, did everything with one machine, and just made it work to that. So when you see someone being able to use it as a Swiss Army knife, Greg with the dozer does the same types of things. There's different people that have their piece of equipment, but I guess it's because I'm not as proficient on the track loader. And so that's why when I see someone that is so proficient on it, it really is something to watch.
All right. How about you?
Yeah. So, all right. So pick the guy and the machine. Is that the,
yeah.
All right. Again, limited experience here relatively. The excavator's always been my favorite machine to watch. I just love the way they move. To me, it looks like something prehistoric, like a dinosaur, like the way it just, and again, because you can switch the buckets and stuff so much. And I wasn't in construction before here. So there are probably a lot of guys that I'm leaving out because I've never seen them. But watching Paulie Carragher in the excavator, especially when they're doing pipe, because sometimes he can go fast and sometimes it's a lot of like precision. Like I'm going to go slow. I got to be careful. There's a guy in there. I'm moving a piece of pipe, whatever it might be. So watching him was fun for me in a couple different instances. I just thought it was sort of neat. It wasn't, some of it wasn't always like, it's fun to watch an excavator go fast. Like a person who's like really good at loading trucks and watch them just fly and move dirt is cool. But that was sort of like more technical.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say a few things. First, I'm gonna go with the one that's probably the most obvious for Berg Construction is Greg. I mean, Greg can do things on a dozer. A lot of people can grade.
Yeah.
Greg can grade things you shouldn't be able to grade with a dozer, almost like you described with that the loaders. I mean, just
remember way back when that whole swale issue.
The whole swale issue. I mean, they had to come. We used to dig the swales, and all of a sudden, Greg just said he thought he could grade it, and he graded through a swale. And I mean, and we're on a GPS site, so I mean, that means he's turning the GPS off and on as he goes. Like he's on system, then shut it off or ignore it, and cut these swales. And it's just unbelievable how. And he's like the turtle on the hare, which I don't like because I like to go fast. I'm rammy. I'm like cowboy, but he goes slower and beats everybody every time. Yeah. He's cleaning up your mess while you're not done. And somehow you were moving faster than him the whole time. So I'd say Greg is the one that I'm always the most like taken back by what he can actually do in the machine. But two people in an excavator that come to mind for different reasons are Boyer with the Great All and now with the Encom.
Yeah.
Just it almost looks like they're painting with that thing. First the Great All and now with the Encom. When you see him, it's he just the way that the bucket, like, and you can Ford and I can sit here and like you could feel it in your hands, right? Like what it would feel like to make that multiple pieces of articulation are moving at once, right? Like you're moving the boom, you're moving the stick, and you're moving the bucket. But once you throw that Encom in, all of a sudden there's like at least two more motions potentially, maybe even. I guess it's two, right? Because you could spin it and then you could twist it, but you can also tilt it. So maybe there is a third. So, I mean, you're talking like 6 different pivot points. And when you watch it, it's smooth. And it reminds me of like painting. Chad can do the same thing with that. But the one with Chad is that 490. I mean, when we moved a lot of dirt on a project and we realized we were going to have to use triaxles, but we wanted to use the bigger machine. And I remember I ran it one day for him, not a day, but like quickly for some reason. And when I went to do it, I like felt I wanted to feel comfortable. I didn't want it to look like I was jerky. I like came across, and all of a sudden, as I came over top of that truck, I realized how small the truck was in comparison to the bucket. And to me, it felt like I might have had 2-3 inches on either side. I mean, you probably had a foot, right? Because a triaxle truck bed is going to be internally, maybe you have 8 foot, 8.5 maybe.
Well, you can only be 8'6" wide total for legal. Right. So you're under 8 feet.
So you're under 8 foot, and he had a 7 foot bucket. He had a big bucket on that.
So you got 5 to 6 inches on either side, give or take.
And he did it like he was loading. He did it like he was throwing it into a wheelbarrow with a shovel. Like it was just, and he did it for what, 4 months? You know what I mean? 10 hours a day, and didn't. I mean, now we're done. Knock on wood. But he didn't hit a truck. It's just to see that. It's pretty crazy.
That's cool.
And I think the other part that, as we're having this conversation, not to jump off topic, but like for the young guys out there that like, they're just starting, you're getting a little use of everything. Like some of these people that we're talking about have 10, 15, 25 years doing this. So like, it's not going to happen overnight, but if you can watch these people and see what they do. I still remember years ago, I was on a job and a guy was loading trucks and he was fast, but just banging and clanging and like just making them, just ripping the machine apart. But yeah, he was faster. And I was talking to the foreman. He's like, yeah, he said. And then I watched another guy. Then the next day, I guess they had moved him on to do something else. He wasn't quite ready for it. And you never heard the bucket clang. It was just quiet and just smooth. And I think at the end of the day, the truck count was actually higher because what the guy was doing was dumping his bucket every time. Then he was shaking the bucket to try and get like every last little bit of dirt out. But it was getting clogged again the next bucket. So he had to get, and like, versus like, okay, you know what? I got a 10% like less in this bucket, but I'm going to have the same 10% the entire time through, but I'm not going to sit there and clang. I'm just going to dump, come back. And like those kind of things. And like, you know, with this equipment, the little things is what makes a difference. All the equipment will do what it's supposed to do, but it's using K turns. It's using quarter turns with track hose. It's, you know, trying to use it in the most efficient manner. But what was the other category we were talking about? Like, which one do you like to see the most or something like that?
Something you'd like to run but never have,
Or so for me, I was actually thinking about it this way, like, you know, the bigger equipment's cool. You know, you can go to mining equipment or whatever. It's bigger, you know. But actually, I go the inverted way. I like the smaller equipment because pound for pound, it seems like it does more. Like when you're talking 490, you're getting into the bigger ones, 1200s, you're talking, you know, big steam shovels or whatever, big things. They're just doing bulk, right? But when you see a small machine that can actually, like a 35 or a 80 machine, it can do so much in a small space. That's actually, you know, sometimes it seems like it's more than if you're going to the bigger size. Like, you know, because everyone's like, oh, the biggest thing. And it's like, I just remember we were out there in Tempe or where did we go?
Yeah.
And they had these really huge machines. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But like, maybe it's because we don't use that stuff. So maybe that's why. But it's just like, you know, we understand what the people in those machines do. They do the exact same motion every day because they dig into a pile, they dump, they aren't doing other type of work. Maybe that's part of it too.
And, you know, and specifically, I think one of the things that down there that got me was the trucks, right? Those rigid bodies. I mean, they were just, it was bigger than anything I had ever seen in person. You know what I mean? It dwarfs a rock truck. But as you were saying that, it made me think of that's another machine actually, that it may be crazy, but in the work we do in landfill, to watch the slopes that those trucks go on, it's not something that, like from an operation standpoint, amazes me, you know, what someone does or anything else, but the reality of how balanced they are, and that the guys sort of like Ford's saying K turns and everything else, they know how to get down onto these slopes. And then other people are like, yeah, you can't use that for that. And like, no, it's actually designed for this and it can do it. And the guys know the limits of it. That is another funny machine. But if I'm picking one, it's Motograder. I mean, when you just, especially the older Motograders with, you know what I mean?
Piano sticks.
There's
keys.
so many sticks and control. I mean, I don't honestly know that I think I could get it to move. I think I could figure it out without Google, right? We're talking without Google, not looking it up.
Sure.
I think I could get it to move, but it would be a disaster after that. I mean, there's just so many, I can sort of picture it in my head. Do you remember the one that we had? Or did we rent that one or did we actually buy it?
We rented one and then we had one for like a small season.
We had one for a small season and it just had so many. It was just, it looked like an organ. There was just like sticks everywhere. And you remember that the guys ran it and I sort of, it was Ed and Greg and I expected them to be better than they were. They were good, but they weren't fast. Now they hadn't run them in I don't know how long.
Right.
And afterwards I made some comment, which I probably should have kept to myself, that I expected them to like go faster. And they said, well, we didn't know how to change the controls. So the controls were set, right?
Backwards.
They were set backwards. So it was backwards of any version of the machine they had ever run. But instead of stopping to figure out how to change the controls, they just made it work and ran it with the controls backwards. And I was like, okay, well, now I guess I'm just going to go back to the office now. I couldn't have got it to move. I definitely couldn't have utilized it or operated it. And you ran it with the controls backwards from what you knew them to be.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Yeah.
So how about you, Brian?
Did you say one? What was yours? What was the machine you wanted to run?
Oh, I was just saying the machine I like to watch because I think what it does. But the machine I want to run.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's actually. Well, I don't think we'll ever have it in Pennsylvania. It's the trenchers, not like the little ones, but when you see those guys with those big, basically chainsaws, cutting trenches.
His love of clearing and earthwork into one giant thing.
I mean, it's just crazy. They got like this just big gnarly belt with like just teeth all over the place, and they're just spitting dirt right out the side as they go. And it's like, I mean, I imagine they're cutting through tough material. I'm sure that in that seat is not going to be a fun time. And then the second one is, which I've only seen in agriculture, but the guys that do tiling for like the wet fields, they got these big like quad looking machines with a big plow desk on the back, and they're just going through fields and dropping pipe in them.
Yeah.
And it's such a, like, you know, you said like prehistoric looking, like goofy machine. It's like, you're not going to see this on a daily basis driving down the road. This is only a very specialized piece of equipment.
That's cool. Yeah, for me. So, I mean, it sounds silly to say it because I think it would be easy to arrange, but I'd like to run a Traco at some point. I think that'd be fun just because I love watching them move anyway. So,
Beware of what you ask for.
yeah, I know. In my head, I'm like, geez, that sounds dumb that, 10 years, almost 9.5 years or whatever I've been here, I wanted to and never did. But I actually, maybe carrying on to some of my snow responsibilities, I'm always so impressed when I see these like the giant snow blowers dumping straight into the Traxels. They're kind of moving at the same pace, same time. I think that'd be fun to do something like that because those, like, I like how clean the result is, but it also takes a lot of like steady hand and skill because usually, like, you got to keep it close enough to the truck that you're not dumping the snow everywhere else. You're also not hitting this. A lot of times they're usually on tight streets and stuff like that. They use those.
Yeah.
So I think
City Machine.
I think that'd be fun to do.
Another one that we didn't mention that's neat to watch is when you see a paving crew.
Yeah.
When you see a paver really running, because they're just dumping asphalt. And then when you said about the truck, it made me think of it. Just dumping asphalt in and it comes out and it's perfect.
Well, and I mean, that's like something that actually underappreciated skill is like the on-road truck drivers. Because just the other day I was loading trucks, and a good truck driver, like when you're loading trucks, is just invaluable because there was 8 trucks running. And
how many good ones you have?
5. I had better than expected.
Okay.
But the one person kept like stopping like before I honked the horn, like so they weren't in the right position, so I had to wait till them to back up. And it was pretty clear where the trail was from the person before, so I'm not really sure what the. But yeah, when you're just loading trucks all day, and your only job is to load trucks, so you're just like, get here as quick as you can, get in this spot. I'm gonna load you, and you get out of here. And it was just like, oh, it's that truck coming back. Okay, great. It's gonna take an extra 5 minutes to get him into place, but seeing our guys have been doing it for a while, like like you said there. I don't know how many times we'd be paving, and a good truck driver with paving is so important because I don't know how many times you'd wave the person, like go forward a little, like we're going to move forward, and the genius would drive off, and then you got a pile of material that you got to shovel up in front of the machine, or he like over dumped it because he didn't control his bed right, and you're just like, I saw quite a few terse conversations.
Yeah,
with truck drivers because you got that hot material, you're trying to get it down, trying to get a good clean mat, and the wrong truck driver at that point can really
mess up the timing.
You're already warm and hot from being out there on the macadam, and then someone does something like that, and you're just like,
that's probably.
Sorry, Brad. We were I was up at Brad's the other day, and we had, it was an operation. They were running. It was exciting to see that. To see doing what we do, and I've talked that through with the guys that like you walk around Longwood and it's amazing what they've done. But I said to Dylan, I showed him a picture and I was like, but this is what we do. Like, here's, it was a picture of Brad's running full bore, wide open, 8-10 machines running. And I was watching and the difference in the truck drivers, because we have a couple guys who are seasoned truck drivers. And then we had one guy driving who's doing a good job, but is safe, but he's figuring it out. And just the difference, like you said, in just the loading, he pulled in and Tori was there. And I said, oh, Steve would be aggravated with this. That's like a half a turn. Like where he set up and they tried to honk him back and he didn't move it because of the angle he had parked. The funny part was it was partially my fault. I put my truck in a place where he was not comfortable turning around, but Joe and Bob both turned around. Like I had left them plenty. I saw their tire tracks and I pulled past them, but he didn't want to go near my truck. So he tried to turn around in a different spot. And so he didn't set up right, but I could see but the ones I noticed that I watched a few rounds and I noticed like he's not as comfortable getting as close to the tractor or as backed into the pile, but it made it, probably wasn't a lot, but it was probably 20, 30 seconds faster to load Joe and Bob than it was to load the other truck, and it doesn't seem like much, but you extrapolate that out what an estimator does. And over a course of a week, you probably just cost a couple hours of operation because you weren't as experienced as them, but that's the process. You learn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if now you said that, like the symphony of 3+ pieces of equipment, one piece, it's pretty self-contained, 2 pieces, they can work together. But when you have 3+ pieces all working at the same time on a related task. It just kind of starts here and ends there, and it just keeps going without a lot of interruption.
Well, and you see
That's
so
fun.
much delta, like that. The picture that I took, which we haven't used yet, Kelsey or Tori has a few pictures of it. There's a loader pushing to an excavator, loading a screener that we're loading off the screener as well as off the pile that's already been pushed off, depending on how fast they're coming, with 3 or 4 trucks being fed. And so it was just like you were watching earth move. Like, and that's when you see the big dozers really running, you know what I mean? Like slot pushing, you see the same thing. They're physically changing the landscape quickly, and you can see it.
Well, that and you get in that flow, and you don't even like stop for lunch because you're just like gotta go. Like if you got trucks, I remember years ago when we were doing the big dig, and like there was I don't know, we didn't have enough trucks there, but we had trucks, and but when they'd line up on you, you're just like slinging dirt as fast as you can because you're like, all right, well that truck's waiting. I don't want to, every time he's waiting isn't getting anything done. Just move.
Yeah.
Tori was talking about. She was talking about the other day about Paulie. And she said, we were talking something about, could she get there to catch them on their lunch breaks? I don't know what she wanted to talk about or wanted to get a picture of. And I sort of like paused, and she was like, Paulie doesn't take lunch breaks. And I was like, not really. And she said, now that you say that, I remember seeing him. He was digging while eating his sandwich, right? Like you need 2 hands to eat a sandwich, but he could run the machine in a way that like he would do it. And then in one split second, he'd like take a bite of his sandwich, put it down, and keep working. And we weren't forcing him to do it, but like Ford said, you want to be productive. He wants to get done. So Paulie figures out, how to do it. And we got a lot of guys who do that, but that made me think of it. JD and Joe, we didn't really talk about them, but they're, if we sort of switch gears to sort of jack of all trades, like guys who, like, I'm not saying masters of none because I don't want it to be like an insult to anybody, but there's guys, I mean, like Greg can run any machine.
Well-rounded, we'll call it. Right?
But guys who can just, any machine you have, they'll be fine.
Yeah. I think we have a bunch of those. And, sometimes that maybe they don't get to spend as much time on one machine, but I think there's a lot of people that, are willing to hone their skills across multiple things, just because that's the need. I mean, in our business, it's constantly changing. One job might need 3 dozers and 1 trackhoe. The next job might need 3 trackhoes and 1 dozer, or 4 rock trucks. It's just, so being able to, I think the most fun is getting into a new piece of equipment and you're just trying to figure, like, you get into a new car and everything is similar to a car for the most part. I mean, they might move like the gear shifter from the front to the center or something small, but the steering wheel's here, the
it's all
power.
Similar.
Yeah. But when you get into a different type of piece of equipment, like everything's different. And you might even get into the same piece of equipment, but a different brand or a different year because they moved and all of a sudden the switches you need are up above you versus on the panel beside you. And then you get into something that's a little bit more used and some of the switches, maybe the stickers have worn off of them or something like that. And so you're just so the other day I was in a machine and I was just like, parked the machine. I was trying to find the horn. No, there's like 8 buttons on it. None of them had the horn symbol on it. I don't want to drop the bucket. I don't want anything. I'm just going to sit here. So I found which one was the horn, just because each one has it in a different location. So, some are a foot pedal, some are a finger, whatever the scenario is. But you get into a machine, you're like, all right, I got to kind of like take a couple minutes here and like, it's similar, but it's not the same.
Yeah. Well, and the modernizing of them has been, tricky for me, because even little machines skid, track load. I keep saying skid loader, but really they're track loaders.
Yeah.
But the track loaders, and we had a rental machine, and I think we talked about this. It had like an automatic rabbit function, right? Like to go fast, which I did not like at all. Cause like I wanted to be in control of when I went fast. Like, cause I was going to go fast and then click it off. You know what I mean? So as I was working, I was hitting, like Ford said, when people weren't noticing, I was hitting every button I could find, trying to figure out, I was like, there has to be a way to bypass this, but it had like the touch screen. It was really nice. I had the touch screen. I was like, I'm not even going to mess with that touch screen to try and figure it out, which is probably where the control is. Yeah. But then I like figured out how to make it do what I wanted to. If it had something to do with like holding it dead forward for 3 seconds, then it would kick it in. Then as long as I didn't come almost like a zero turn, as long as you didn't truly like go backwards, forwards, it wouldn't come off. And so I could hold it on, but like figuring all that out. But versus when someone has experience, they're just, they know exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I was thinking about that. Like you think about, we were talking about skid loader, track skid loader, whatever. Like our very first one was a T-bar handle, 2 handles in between your thighs. So like literally you were just doing this to make it run. And then we had the T-bars on the outside. And then we had the feet and hands. I've run all those. And then now we have like the pilot controls and do everything, but it's much more ergonomic and your arms are better. I was thinking about like the new graders. We've never run one, but now they're on pilot controls. Like they're really centralizing now. Still, if you get in a Traco and the person before you in the Traco might have been a farmer in their past, they might have switched the controls on you.
Right.
Which is cool that you can trade them, because in the old days you had to either change hoses or you had to like move it was not an easy thing to change. Now it's a flip of a button usually or something. But I don't know how many times you get in. And there again, it's the same. It's similar, but different. The controls are. So like you start doing something, then all of a sudden, like it goes the wrong direction.
It goes the opposite.
It's like, I've heard that before, like deer controls versus cat controls or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. ISO versus whatever, but basically it's deer versus cat.
Okay. I was going to say, I hear people say deer versus cat, but it's probably 2 different thought processes behind the mechanism. So.
And whether they work better or not, but I'll tell the story. I think I've told before, but we rented this really small Mini, like one of those little ones you see at like the hardware store type Mini, because we were down in a trench and we had to clean it out. And I ran it backwards the whole day because that one didn't have a ability to switch. So I was just fighting against my tendencies the whole day. And I was young at that point, and I got home and my shoulders and back just hurt because I was so stressed trying to remember, like, okay, when I'm supposed to be pulling, I'm actually supposed to be pushing, and then I'm supposed to, and it was so funny how like, having a switch on them is just nice. You can kind of let people do what their preferences are.
Yeah. Well, and it is so muscle memory driven. You know what I mean? In terms of the seat.
It's like swinging a golf club.
It's like sports. I was going to say, we haven't said sports, but it's like sports. Right. And the one that got me that was funny was when some of the snow equipment, and we got a bunch of skid loader, track loaders one year, remember? And it had the foot controls. Yeah. It was Bobcat. And to realize that these amazing operators were going to struggle with this machine that didn't bother me at all because I had run Bobcat. And it was so odd, you know what I mean? Because you think any machine that I put them in, they would be better than me, except we just made them do something they haven't done. And it wasn't that they couldn't do it. It was that the muscle memory wasn't there. They were trying to do it a different way, similar to the deer controls.
Interesting.
So
I think there's a lot of new equipment coming out, like odd equipment that's be fun to check out. I remember like the little side dumper trucks are kind of neat and fun to play with. I don't know if you want to do them like for life, but it's just something unique because it's something different or outside of the norm. There's those skid loaders / mini excavators that are unique. I've never operated any of those. Like there's some new stuff coming out that we'll see how long they last. But there was that one, what did they call it? A Trachosaurus or something?
Is it the Manitou one?
Yeah, it was like a skid loader with a dozer blade with a thing on it, like
sort of like a backhoe with a skid loader with a dozer with an excavator.
Like a one-man band.
It was like a one-man band. But I feel like it's just a lot of stuff going to break. You have a lot of extra attachments.
You better be an owner operator. That's all I can say on that one.
Yeah.
But I think it's always fun. I mean, I think that we have like 5 main types of machinery just because of what we do. But the specialty stuff is always unique because that's something that you're just not seeing on a day-to-day basis.
You know what people love that it didn't come up at all is those pans.
Yeah.
That's something, I mean, they're neat.
I think it's like farm related or something.
It's not something I've we've had them, but they're neat, but it's not, for me, there's always something about an excavator. Watching an excavator run, sort of there's so many articulating pieces. And when you see somebody who's smooth on it, you see it.
Yeah. I loved that you brought up the Gradall too, because we don't have a Gradall anymore. But when Justin used to use that on the landfill, he was really smooth with it. He could do a lot of different things with that machine. And it is fun, Justin.
And Joe was real good on that one too. I remember.
Joe Stauffer was real
like
good.
Some people just took to it, some didn't type scenario, just depending on what their casualness to it was.
I was talking to JD. We'll get JD in. I was talking to JD this morning, and I asked him a question about, I was like, you don't have the Encong, do you? And he was like, no, you borrowed the Encong about a year ago and said you needed it for a month. And I haven't seen it since. I was like, oh yeah, your Encong, that's right. We have both of them now. But I mean, that's been an interesting piece to watch change things because of how people can do it. But Justin, as we said before, we talked about it just for a minute, is I realized how many of our guys are that can do any sort of machines. Like the guys that have been really, with us a while, that they can run anything.
Yeah.
At this point.
Joe G jumped in my head when you said that because,
Yeah.
and again, it's probably mostly from me being here at the shop because I get to see him in the yard a lot.
Yeah.
But I just feel like, it's probably not true, but like, what can't that guy run?
Yeah.
Like watching him tailgate spread with a triaxle, getting the low boy and take the biggest thing we have hours away. He, I've seen him use an excavator, a skiddy. I don't know.
He's something to watch, like with that truck. When you see him with the low boy, my dad always used to say, my dad could drive a truck and trailer. My dad always used to say, anybody can drive a truck forwards. So like, you want to figure out if somebody can drive, make them back into something.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we used to say it out here in the country, make them do a hay wagon with a double pin. And that's when if they can do both directions type scenario.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's always funny. Like if you go somewhere else, like go to a boat ramp or a campground or any place where you see people with trailers and, we have people that do it on the regular. All the guys with the small trailers to the big trailers, like they're just used to it. And then you see somebody, like even if you're out of Ridgewood, and they have like a 10-foot long trailer and they have to do like 14 tries just to back it up 5 feet. And you're like, you just get so used to that being a standard thing that everybody can do. And then when you see someone that doesn't have that skill set, you're just like, oh, wow. Okay. Different.
Yeah, it is one of the things.
I will say, at least in my personal experience, the shorter the trailer, the harder it is to
Can't see it in your mirrors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
it does react more quickly to shorter trailers.
like longer trailers I usually have no issue with.
Well,
But,
you tried Joe's low boy though.
I have not tried the low boy. No, I'm sure that's a different.
I think there's a point of like a tipping point. Which
At some point the length also makes it harder.
the 6 foot deck is tricky, but you get to that low boy and that's I've followed Joe a few times when we're moving big stuff and he needed a car to trail him. And I've trailed him, and the one I remembered was they were doing all the construction on 202, and I think it was a long reach with wide tracks. He came through. He couldn't have had, maybe he had 6 inches between the concrete and the tracks on both sides. He didn't even touch his brakes. He was just like, just
situational awareness.
He just drove right through. Like he knew it was going to fit, and just drive straight through.
There's probably
we could talk about our guys and the equipment for the
I
rest
think
of the day.
I think we've hit one of those subjects that we could probably talk about for a long time. But
I like to watch Brian on the calculator. You should see him operate that.
You should see me.
You should see him on that.
Texas
Got the abacus going too. He's
My
ready to rock
Texas
and roll.
Instrument skills are fantastic. That's a good place to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us today, folks. We hope you got something from this, and we hope you come back for another episode.